Hi everyone, my name is Mikdad. I'm the founder and the CEO of CareerDC. Welcome to another episode of CareerDC's Career and Coffee. Today's topic is about digital skills, innovation, and future career. Today we have a very special guest. We are very fortunate to have Professor Monica Jurin. Monica is one of the best people I have worked with, and I am very happy that she is giving us her time today. Monica has a unique combination of skills and expertise. She has started with a corporate career, and now she's an academic. She is a professor teaching business students mostly, but her focus is innovation and technology, entrepreneurship. So I think we will gain a lot of information from Monica today that is very useful for career development. So thank you very much for joining us, Monica.
Thank you, Miguel, for inviting me. I'm always up for a chat, especially bringing my mug that really match my color of my clothes.
Your one matches your color. Yes, matches the shirt. So, Monica, would you like to tell us what is your interpretation of digital skills in future careers? How can people use digital skills to improve their careers? There are a lot of challenges that young people are facing. This year, especially because of the pandemic, we are seeing a lot of people that are confused about what to do next, how to apply for jobs, what kind of industries do they get in, and how do they break through into an industry. So maybe you can start telling us on what kind of skills they need to get to the next stage, because now things are different. They're not like before. It's not like, you would have a CV and just apply for a job, on a job board. I think it's much more than that. It's even much more than networking. A lot of people used to talk about networking and making contacts. I think it's much more than that now. So what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Miguel, for raising that. And there have been a lot of discussion, posts, and information floating around that we all need digital skills. And like you say, that young people, they need digital skills. But I think everyone, regardless of your experience or your age, how many years you have been working, we all need digital skills, because digital skills in a way is not specific to people who work in IT or engineering or technical field anymore. People in business like myself, I also need digital skills. And my encounter with digital skills, for example, is when I am doing my research. I find that my research data set is growing over time. Like when I was doing my PhD, I only need to download from a CD-ROM, like, those discs. That's all I need to buy, maybe a few, and then I can store them. But these days, I have like massive data sets over many years. And then the variables, the measurements and everything just keep growing and growing. And I can see Salman is, Salman and I actually used to work together, interestingly. And that was because when the data and the information that we have to analyze and investigate are growing, we need to build infrastructure around it. And as a business person, I'm not a specialist in that field. I'm not an IT professional. But then I realized I need to understand. I need to understand what is the digital landscape at present and in the future, so that I can go and find out the resources that I need to help me do my job better, right? And I need to build that digital skill and literacy, which is more important. Because without the literacy, I actually cannot connect all the different technologies and and connecting the problems with the technology that can help me solve the problem that I have, and then be able to communicate with the technical experts in IT, engineering, and all these different fields, and tell them this is what I want. Because without that bridge, digital skill is just a skill that is always in you, but you can't use it. And when that happens, it's really tough. And if I may share the screen with that, last month, the World Economic Forum has released this report, which is about the future of jobs. And if you look at that, the top 10 skills of, I'll enlarge it, the top 10 skills of 2025, like 5 years away from now, which is not far away if you think about it, 5 years away from now, and you look at the top 10 skills, yes, there is technology use, monitoring and control, technology design and programming. These are very technical skills that we require. And some business professionals may develop it over time. But if you look at the rest, analytical thinking, innovation, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, originality is something to do with innovation, leadership, social influence, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility, especially COVID taught us a great lesson, right, this year. Reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. So if you look at this, digital skills are probably directly related to 2 out of 10 of these skills. But if we do not have good digital literacy, imagine, we can't solve problems because we don't even know what problems we have with that. And we can't actually, talk to people, have the leadership, and have the other skills like to lead a team to actually create a solution that is innovative, because time change very fast. It's not something that, I think last time when my mom was working, she was learning Lotus 1, 2, 3. And I was in primary school. I was like, ooh, this is so cool, Lotus 1, 2, 3. And now I'm learning Python, and the Python, open source library was like huge. You can learn a new thing every single day if you want. So that is how things are developing, and we need these analytical, complex problem solving skills, critical thinking to actually identify the problem, identify the technology, bring together a team that have that skill. And it's not just in one person. We have to now build teams with various skills. And if we do not have good digital literacy, it is very hard to communicate in that very complex environment. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I looked at the list, Monica, and it looks like if you don't have the digital literacy, it's really hard to actually have or actually use the other skills. For example, resilience and adjusting during times of crisis. How can you adjust if you don't know how to use technology to help you pivot and change your approach? You need technology to do these things. So actually, technology and digital skills are interwoven with all of these, with the whole skill set.
Correct. And also we can actually see in the projects that our students do make that some clients have an expectation of certain technological development, even in business projects. And then my students will come to me and say, oh, I can't do this. I'm not sure why the clients are asking me about, like, just on Tuesday, I have a group of students and say, I don't know about XBRL language. But I say, you don't have to know how to program with it, but you need to know how this language is being used.
Correct.
How this language can help businesses achieve their goals and objectives. and how can it maybe help them to, minimize cost, improve information accuracy. Your job as a business professional is to be able to come up with business transformation strategies. And you need to know all these products. I'm not asking you to do programming, but you need to know how many options out there can be used instead of SBRL. Is SBRL the best one? And tell me what are the, the benefits and costs if we implement with it. So these are the things, if we are talking about digital skills as if like, oh, we must do something, but it is the knowledge in our mind, that literacy, our knowledge about how digital transformation is taking place and how digital transformation is affecting businesses. That is the part that will bridge everyone between business, non-technical and technical people. And that is how then we can become creative and innovative, right? The problem-solving skill and critical thinking skill will help us identify problems. Like, why was Steve Jobs and Apple so popular in the past? Because he was such a smart guy. He's not just a smart technical guy. He's a smart guy who can identify problems, who can foresee how he can use technology to transform the future. And he understand, and this is so important, he understood how the level of, common public's digital skill sets are. And if we put this product out in the market, how many people could actually adapt to that change, right? You can't, and yesterday I was just reading an article about Douglas Engelbart, and he was the guy who invented the mouse, right? He was the guy who first came out, he was an engineer. He was the guy who first came out and talked about, how computing network can actually help us all. But after that first presentation he made about computing network, everyone stood up, standing ovation, was like, wow. And this was in 1968, make that, 1968. But nothing happened after that presentation, nothing much. Because people could see how brilliant the idea is, but they couldn't connect.
Timing.
That's right, timing, capability, preparation, strategy, right? They couldn't build a bridge over to his brilliant idea and think about, oh, how can we actually make this happen? Is it going to cost us a lot of money? Do we have people who knows how to do it? All these are questions.
Is the ecosystem, is there an ecosystem to embrace it as well?
Yeah. So that's what Steve Jobs did so well, because he knew the timing, he knew about his users, whether they are prepared. And he knew that even though this was new, iPhone was, released in 2005, and then there was only one button. He knew that people can develop their digital skills and literacy very quickly with this product that is not too pressing. It's just go with their intuition, right? That I want to do this. I do a lot of things with my fingers anyway. So that is a part that I think every one of us needs to think about digital skill in a way that it is not technical skills that we are talking about.
Yes.
It is a skill that how we connect with the digital world and what is our understanding about the future of digital transformation to businesses and all sorts of different fields. And that is the important part. And then that influences how much we can be innovative and creative. because without innovation, without creativity, you're going to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So I think, Monica, what I'm understanding here about having digital skills and how to use it in career development, because people might think, oh, this is about, having technical skills. Like, for example, someone is an accountant and they are looking for a job, and they say, okay, I have to learn Zero, I have to learn MYOB, I have to learn Microsoft tools, etc., and have this skill set. And then when I look for a job, I'm more likely to get it. But what you are talking about now is much higher than that. It's more high level. You're talking about digital literacy, trying to connect the dots, trying to look at a problem and think, okay, how can I solve this issue? How can I use technology to solve this issue? And this kind of thinking cannot come without some certain understanding, learning as a foundation, so that you will be able to even think this way. So it's not straightforward. There is a lot of creativity involved. So it's more like, yes, digital literacy, trying to understand things and connect technology to life.
And we need to always have a growth mindset and open up our mind to all different information, examples, things that happen around us. Like, for example, last week I read about an article. There is a lot of things that's being said about artificial intelligence. And in that article, it also talked about augmented intelligence. And that article actually talks about the difference between artificial intelligence and augmented intelligence. So augmented intelligence, the author argued that that is what we should actually invest a lot of resources and understanding to develop, because augmented intelligence is assistive technology that help humans to do better in everything that they want to achieve, right? Whereas in artificial intelligence, that is what commonly a lot of people fear, because they think, oh, robot is going to take over my job. What? Right? And then they go, I don't want robots to take over my job. But augmented intelligence is about using technology to help us discover new horizons, discover new problems, find better ways to do what we are currently doing. And that is the important part. Without this proper digital literacy and understanding of what technology is about, you can create fear instead of promoting creativity and innovation. So I think that not just among our fresh graduate, we need to develop every one of us. And if I may share my Miro board, that I love using my Miro board. So I prepared a Miro board. Like, for example, here at the top, you can see that I have a profile of a graduate. Let's say I am a graduate. I'm trying to find a job, but I can't get hired by anyone because I don't have the skills and experience required, which makes me feel lost, confused, and frustrated, right? Palak, is that how you feel?
Yes, exactly.
That's right. And then when I look at it from the perspective of an employer, I am an employer. I'm trying to hire capable staff, but I can't find anyone because they don't have the skills and expertise that I require, which makes me feel frustrated and disappointed, right? And a lot of businesses is in reality really feel that way. It's like, oh, I want the person who do this and that, but I just cannot find that person. And how do we bridge this together? The bridge is in terms of education. And that's where we come in, right? Education can actually provide that bridge between graduates. And when I say graduates, I also involve learners, like all of us, like you and me, make that we are still having to develop our skills and our knowledge as we go. We cannot stop, right? If we stop, we are like 5 years behind now. And so education is there to bridge between these two. But education, of course, can help develop digital skill. That is what we are talking about. digital skill is here, but we also talk about digital literacy. So the digital literacy is to help us think about using digital tools, technology, come up with strategies to actually achieve what we want to achieve. Now, having just these two components will not help us because we talk about strategies. When we talk about strategies, first we need critical thinking skill. And then we need problem solving. Let's name just a few, right? And we also need like leadership, resilience. We need communication. But I will also throw one more in with that. Communication in terms of translation. And I'll talk about translation a bit more. So with this whole thing, I think all of us, not just education, needs to take ownership. We need to take ownership. The students, the learners themselves need to take ownership to develop these skills. Education sector can help, but businesses should also identify how they can translate their needs to these other parties. Because you can't just sit there and say, I want this, but I can't find it. But maybe it's in the communication that we are lost. So in this case, you can see that it is every party's accountability to make this work. And without this comprehensive set of skills, digital skill is just a skill that we develop, but we may never use it effectively. And if it cannot be translated into an innovation or a solution, then it is just a skill that sits inside us. So that is how I see, and for all our jobs, not just for the graduates, all of us, including you and me, make that. I believe that we need to take part in this development, and it's ongoing. Have conversation, a lot of conversation, so that we can bridge the gaps between, education sector, business sectors, as well as the learning environment, how we can support each other and tell each other how to improve. It is something that we need to do together.
Now, a lot of people might ask, so whether they are, say, graduates looking for jobs or they are employers looking for employees, say, okay, yes, we like technology, we know it's the future, we want to have the skills, the digital skills, but where do we start? So not everyone had the opportunity to study recently, for example, or something. There are employers that, that haven't taken a course in, say, 20 years or so. And so how would you educate them? How would you talk to them and give them a starting point? They could be motivated to start, but where do they start?
Where do they start? Well, yesterday I read a report from NCBER. They are the national, I can't remember the full term of that body, but they are looking at digital skills and future jobs in vocational sector, for example. And they identified in a business sector, there are 3 types of employers at the moment. First type, they understand that the pressing needs for developing digital skills and literacy, and they invest heavily in training and infrastructure in their businesses. Among the staff, they will train up, and then they will build infrastructure to actually develop those things. The second one is they see the needs, and they would take certain very careful steps into developing and training their staff, as well as putting in proper infrastructure, but they're very cautious. And the third group, they know there's a need, but they have not invested anything. So like you say, there are a broad spectrum of where businesses are and where do they start. And I think I cannot come up with just one answer for that, but I believe they have to try. They have to try at least engage with one new activity each month. Just put in a plan each month, a plan of what I'm going to engage with, right? Whether it is to actually do a training, a group training in a company, just to open up that mind to see a new technology. These days, there are a lot of things that you don't even have to pay. You have to just invite someone in to do a demonstration to you, and you go, that could be useful, right? And then next month, you do another new activity that is actually to train businesses to think out of the box and to think. There are so many different brainstorming techniques out there, right? Make that. So you can just pick one and go, every month we're going to engage with something that we have never done before. And with that, you're going to build up a stock of new ideas. And maybe every quarter in your management meeting, you can review those ideas and say, okay, link those ideas to the problems that you currently have. Because it is, and I do not believe in wasteful innovation. I think there should be a technical term for this. Wasteful innovation or wasteful technological development, because every business has limited resources. That's the reality, right? You cannot have someone in your company that keep innovating, but it is not aligned with the strategic direction that the business is going forward. So management needs to get involved. Management needs to be able to tell their staff and say, this is the direction that we are going, and let's identify the problems or gaps that we have, and let's target those things, right? And then push it out and let people explore and come out and propose new ideas, what they should actually look at. As a team, you can discuss, you can go and have a look, right? For those companies who are already actively engaging, they can work with different parties, and because they are open. So for companies and businesses, I believe they need to open up. They, like you say, networking, right? You mentioned networking, but networking will only do and help us if we actually know what problems we have or the gaps that we have. And then bang, you find this one person you talk to the other day, and that person has something that you can use to fill that gap. That is the value of networking, right? And so that is what I think every one of us need to do. And businesses, and you might have heard of this so long because you have worked in this area for a long time now. Businesses needs to work more closely with education. Education needs to bridge the gap with businesses. There is a lot of misunderstanding between these two sectors because I have worked in both before. And whenever I cross over to the other side, I hear things that I thought, yes, that is a typical stereotype of, educators. And then when I cross over back to the other side, yes, that is a typical stereotype of business people. I think we shouldn't have that. And we should actually engage with each other and in all different types of activities, just like what we are doing now. You can actually have a chat between an academic and a business person every month. And if this happens frequently enough, we are creating a community to bridge the gap between the two. And then the learners and everyone else will just join in. And I believe in building that community, which will make a difference.
So a community that connects the education sector with the business sector. Employers will have the opportunity to engage, communicate with education professionals, and possibly even build collaborative programs such as experiential learning, work integrated learning, where students can even engage in activities before they graduate with the employers. That could be an example. And the feedback is given back to the education sector, and courses could be even adjusted and modified according to the experiential learning. Steps like these, I think this will bridge the gap.
That's right. I totally agree with you. There are so many different methods that we can actually engage. Like you say, work integrated learning, right? It is challenging, but it's so valuable to our learners. And it's not just for the students who are actually engaged in work integrated learning that they get exposure to real businesses, they get an opportunity to work with someone in the business sector or in a technical field that they want to grow their career in. But it is also for businesses to learn about how to improve their current processes, to get feedback, for example, because, you know, like you run a business every day, right? Like that. And you have very little time sometimes to just sit down and think. And even if you think, it is just yourself by yourself thinking. And you need people to come in and actually have a look at what you're doing and say, oh, Migdad, why do you do that? Maybe you can consider something else. And you go, wow, I never thought about that, right? So those are like testing grounds that you can create. You invite people in. I was a consultant many years ago. Companies actually hire consultants to go into
external
the businesses,
consultants, yes,
right? To do review, to actually audit the different areas and see how they can improve. Now, if you engage in a community of learners, these learners are keen to apply what they have learned, their knowledge, their skills, and they will do as much as they can to try to understand and identify any problems, and then see how they can actually propose the solutions, because they are keen to showcase their profile and who they are. And businesses can actually then gain the benefit of having that feedback. And of course, there will be also the academic staff who are the supervisors, right, that come along, and they will see this, and then they can bridge the gap between learners and businesses. And I think that is a service that we should promote to everyone, because work integrated learning is not just creating benefit for learners, but creating benefit for businesses. And I have that feedback from all the clients that I work with in all the student projects. And they are glad that they have someone else to actually have a fresh ideas about what they do, right? And then internships and seminars and workshops and things like that. So it is something that we really need to push and make that connection stronger and stronger over time, so that we are not just talking about developing skills, digital skills. And when more ideas and perspective come together, that's how innovation happens.
Correct. Actually, having someone, a young person, an intern, for example, joining a company can always bring them new ideas, you know, looking at things from a different perspective. When we are engaged in business, you know, we are so into the day-to-day operations that we don't have time to think of, you know, innovation or new ideas. Like I have to force myself to do online courses or engage to, you know, in conversations with people like you, so that I will start, you know, just thinking of ways to improve the business, to thinking of ways to use technology to improve the business.
But I do understand why businesses at times are reluctant to engage, because when I was working in consulting, we have interns regularly in our office. You can see them floating around, and they're very keen. They will come to your desk and say, "Can I help you with something?" You know. But the thing is, when you are that busy, you have like multiple projects you're working on, and you might not even spend much time in the office. The interns are just being left there in the room, like they're lost, right? But this is where the education institution can help. They can help and work closely with these businesses and say, let us help you organize a schedule of work, identify gaps, right? If you have regular conversation with them, this will not even become a routine job that you go, oh my God, now I have to do this with this company. But if it is that networking value that comes into play, if you have regular conversations with businesses, you already understand how the business goes and the gaps and problems that they have. And when you allocate or help place an intern in that business, you have a list of things that you can actually help brief the intern. You can actually say, okay, now you're going to this company, and the different areas that you can actually help to look into are these, which education sector or institution can work with businesses to confirm that very quickly. It's almost like just a brief meeting, right? Like say, okay, so this is the areas and who is in charge, and so you're going to work under that person. Done. It doesn't have to be painful, but I know and I have experienced that myself when I was working in consulting, that looking after an intern can be an additional task that I think, why am I doing this, right? So that process can actually be streamlined to make it better.
Well, that's the thing. Education, if there is some sort of a body or a community that can moderate, and work together between the education sector and the business sector to moderate and implement such programs, and somehow because a lot of employers are reluctant to change, sort of introduce it in these programs step by step, without being intimidating or something. And at the same time, also, from a social responsibility, it helps, that a lot of also some employers are also want to give back to the community, want to train young people. And at the same time, young people want to give to the workplace. They want to add value and learn at the same time. So I think there is good potential. I think, Monica, the conversation is so exciting that I forgot about the time. It's been more than an hour that we have been talking. So, because it's very exciting, and I think we are both very interested in this area. I think what I will do now, I will open the mic for the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Does anyone have a question?
All good.
All good. Okay, great. So thank you very much for your time.
We should have more chats like this, make that, and even to just brainstorm what else we can do, and put a plan forward. And then, like you say, maybe we can experiment a little bit with different methods.
Yes, I think this idea of having a community for experiential learning is very valuable. I think I worked in many sectors, such as software development, education, recruitment. So I think a community like this can bridge the gap. So I think it would be really good, yes, if we have another discussion to discuss how we can come up with initiatives.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
very much,
inviting me
Monica.
today.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.